Welcome to the Adobe Audition tutorial. I'll show you today how to actually create a sound file and do some very simple editing. The first thing we'll need to do is hook up your audio device to the computer. I have a microphone running into the line input of my computer, and you can get as elaborate as you want with that, but that's all you need is some sort of a microphone or tape deck or a CD player or whatever you want, just running it right into the input of your computer. Open up Adobe Audition. Remember, you do that from the Start menu and you go to Programs, find Adobe Audition. With Audition open, we need to create a new file. So we'll choose File and say New. This gives us a few options for an audio file. The sample rate, this is how many samples of the audio the computer takes. We'll leave it as 44,100. This is also called 44.1, and it's a standard CD quality sample rate. The channels, you have the options of mono or stereo. Stereo sound is the left and right speaker. Mono is if you don't have sound in the left and right. In this case, I'm just recording a voice, and it's not in stereo, so we'll choose mono. The resolution, 16-bit is a standard CD quality sound, so we'll leave it there, and we'll say OK. Then Adobe Audition creates this workspace for us. This is where you'll actually see a visual representation of our audio. To get the record levels set correctly, we want to go to the Options menu and choose Monitor Record Level. When we do this, we can actually see the sound that's coming into the computer. This is how loud or soft the sound is. As I talk, you can see the sound level jumping. It's hitting the red, which is not ideal. It means it's clipping. So we'll turn down my audio level just a little bit. I did that by adjusting a mixer that I have the microphone going through. And we can pretty much say that's okay. It's getting close to the right-hand side, but not all the way there. At that point, we can start recording. We just come down to the controls on the left-hand side. If you hold the mouse over these controls, it'll give you a little tooltip popping up telling you what it is. The red circle is the record button. We'll press record, and then I can start talking. We can count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And as you can see, as I talk, you'll see this visual representation of the sound waves. So we're done recording, so we can come over and hit the green square. That means stop. Adobe selects everything, meaning it's highlighted in white. The whole track now is selected. Now we can do some basic editing. If we want to play back what we have, we can click on the button down at the bottom left here to go back to the beginning of the track, and then the green rectangle is play. Press record, and then I can start talking. So you can hear what we've recorded come through. 10, 1, 2. I'll hit stop. We don't need to hear the whole thing quite yet. Now, all we want to hear in this track is the counting. So we don't want to hear all my introduction, so we can just delete all that. So we'll find exactly where the counting starts. 10, 1, 2. All right, so the number 1 is right here. We can highlight this part of the audio track and zoom in by coming down here and pressing this magnifier. It says Zoom to Selection. This will take this whole area we've just selected and zoom there. As we play back, 10, 1, 10, 1. Right, so we can select right from here. And by the way, to play, you can also press the space bar instead of coming down and pressing that button. So we've selected right from there. We can hold down the Shift key and then hit the home button. Wherever the home button is on your computer, there's different keyboard layouts. Or we can come back out here and zoom out by pressing this button here. You still see our selection. We can actually hold down Shift and then drag the cursor to anywhere we want. So we'll just drag it to the beginning and then hit the delete key. We want to zoom in on that a little bit, so we'll just select that area, hit the zoom button. 1, 2. All right, so we got it pretty accurately. We can do the same for fading out. We'll zoom out, get to where I say 10. All right, we can select the whole rest of the track by just clicking and dragging and then pressing the delete key. We'll get rid of that. Now I do still have some empty space here after 10, so I'll select this, zoom in, And I can actually delete this empty space the same way. We can fine-tune it as much as we want. Now suppose, just to make it a little bit neater, I want to actually fade in and fade out. I can select the beginning of the track, zoom in. I'll select the word 1, or most of it, and I'll choose Effects, Amplitude, and Amplify or Fade. This Amplify or Fade option has a preset for fade in. So we'll select that preset and say OK. And then we can go back to the beginning and play. We'll zoom out first and we'll play.
1, 2.
Now it's a very subtle thing here. I'll exaggerate it a little bit on the fade out just to let you see what's happening. We'll start from 8, and we'll do Effects, Amplitude, Amplify and Fade, and we'll choose Fade Out. Okay. And this will let you hear what happens.
7, 8, 9, 10.
So you can hear the sound actually faded out between 8 and 10. Suppose we didn't want that. We can press Control Z for undo, or go to Edit, Undo. And we can just fade out the number 10. We can select just the number 10, choose Effects, Amplitude, Amplify and Fade, and choose Fade Out. Okay. Now, the maximum range for the sound is actually at 0 decibels, which you can see here. You have -24, -15, all the way at -1, and at the very top is 0. You don't want the sound to go past 0, but you do want it to be very close to 0, or actually touch 0 to get the loudest sound possible. So we'll do some basic dynamics processing to get the sound as close to 0 as we can, which will make it the loudest and clearest audio that we can get. To start with, we'll choose select the whole track, which you can do by choosing Edit, Select All, or just Control A will also select all. We'll go Effects, Amplitude, and we can choose Dynamics Processing. This has some presets. For voice, I actually prefer to use the preset that has soft limit, -24 decibels with boost. This adds some effects called compression and some limiting. I won't get into the technical details, but I'll just give you that preset and we'll say OK. And you can see this changes the actual sound waves a bit. I'll hit undo so you can see the difference here. This is after, this is before, this is after. So it boosts some of the signal and compresses other signal. It just gives us a clearer signal. Now if I were to raise the volume levels here, the amplitude here, areas that are the highest peak would cut off where the sound is the maximum. We want to get the most consistent sound, so we actually want to cut everything off of right about here at say 7 decibels. So we can actually apply hard limiting. Effects, amplitude, hard limiting, and we can tell the computer to cut all the sound that's over 7 decibels. We'll say OK. And as you can see, any of these peaks that were past 7 decibels get cut off. This allows us now to raise all of these peaks all the way to 0. Go to Effects, Amplitude, back to Amplify and Fade. And Audition lets us calculate the maximum level without clipping, which in this case would be 7 decibels. You don't have to know that. You just say Calculate Now, and then say OK, and Adobe Audition does the rest. So now we have the loudest possible sound without clipping. We can save the file now. You hit Control S or go to File, Save. We'll choose the location we want to save the file. Wherever you'll remember, My Documents is always a good place to do it. I'm going to save it in my training folder, and we'll call this Audition Training. Now I recommend saving this first as a WAV file, and here it's called Windows PCM, and you can see the file extension is .wav. We'll choose Save. The reason I choose the WAV file is because it's not compressed. When you save something as a compressed file, it actually takes data away from the file. The WAV file, however, is very large, so you probably will want to save it again as an MP3. So we'll go to File, Save As, and this gives you the same options. And we'll choose MP3, Adobe Audition has a converter called MP3 Pro, which does the same thing. We'll go into Options. For voice, you can use this setting 32 kilobits per second at 22,050 hertz. Remember, CD quality is 44,100 hertz, so that's half of CD quality. For voice, that is usually fine, but you can go as high as you want here. 128 kilobits per second tends to be relatively standard, or you can go higher than that if you want by choosing some custom settings. So we'll leave it here at 32 kilobits per second and say OK, and then we will save it. And then we're done. So we can go to File, Close, or Control W. And that's all. I hope this is helpful.